Hello and welcome to a short video summary of the Samsung UE55MU7000. You can read the actual review via the link in the description or by clicking the card at the top right of the video. The MU7000 is the entry-level model of Samsung's mid-range TVs this year. They sit just below the QLED TV, so they don't include quantum dot. However, they do use a 4K panel, and they also support high dynamic range, HDR10 specifically, and they'll be adding HDR10 Plus as well with the firmware update. Now these TVs come in many screen sizes, but this is a 55-inch model and it retails for £1,149. Pretty good price point for a TV of this size, considering it's also 4K and includes HDR. In terms of its design, well, as you'd expect from Samsung, it's a very attractive looking television. It has a very clean front with almost no bezel, just a ½ centimetre wide black border around the screen. It's also a silver trim and silver edging around the edge of the chassis. It sits on two chrome feet, and as is quite trendy these days, the feet are spaced apart. They're about 91 centimetres apart, so you'll need a surface at least that large on which to position the TV, and obviously it can't be swiveled. However, you do have the option of wall mounting if you prefer, and there are 400 by 400 Visa mounts on the rear of the panel that you can use to attach to a wall bracket. In terms of the rear of the panel, it's composed of black plastic, it's got a kind of a groove effect to it, and there are removable panels. There's a central removable panel which covers the connection for the power cable and also the connector for the One Connect box. So there are a few connections on the TV itself. Specifically, there's also the Ethernet port and a USB port and the CI slot. However, most of the connections are on the One Connect box. This is something that Samsung is using for a couple of years now, and it's quite a good idea. It means you can have most of the connections sort of somewhere else and then run a single cable going up to the TV along with the power cable. On the One Connect box, you'll find 4 HDMI inputs which support HDR, of course, as well as 4K up to 60p. And you'll also find 2 more USB ports, as well as tuners and a digital optical input. So that's the connections. In terms of controlling the TV, it comes with 2 controllers. It comes with a basic remote that Samsung has been using for a number of years now, and it also comes with their new controller. This is similar to last year, but it had a bit of a makeover, and it's quite comfortable to hold. It has volume and channel controls here. It's got a central control for navigating. It's also got voice control, actually, if you want to use that, and it's quite effective for day-to-day control of the TV. In terms of the smart platform, well, this is the same platform that Samsung have been using for a couple of years now. It's powered by the Tizen operating system, and it uses a launcher bar across the bottom of the screen, and then you can go through and you can select different apps and enter them, and it has all the apps you'd want, including the main ones like Amazon and Netflix. It's got Now TV, and it has all the catch-up services as well. So a very complete set of video services and pretty much everything you would want from a modern smart TV platform. It's responsive, it's fast, it's slick, and it works, which is pretty good, really. In terms of the input lag, well, this has a really low input lag. I don't know what Samsung have been doing this year. They've obviously been working on the firmware because it's even lower than TVs that we measured earlier in the year. We actually measured the input lag at just over 17 milliseconds, which is easily the lowest we've ever measured on any consumer TV. This is really impressive, and it makes the MU7000 a fantastic choice for gamers. In terms of its performance, well, we did the usual measurements, of course. We used our calibration equipment, which includes the Klein K10A color meter, the Meridio Fresco 6G pattern generator, and Calman calibration software, and we measured its grayscale, which actually was very good out of the box. In fact, overall, the errors were all below 2. And although we could calibrate it, and we did, of course, using the 2 and 20-point calibration control, that did improve it, but in fact, we only managed to get the errors below 1 when they were already below 2 before that. So out of the box, really impressive. Same goes for colors. Again, the color tracking out of the box was excellent, and we could make some minor improvements with the calibration controls, but really, out of the box was very, very good, and we couldn't make that many improvements over what was already being done out of the box by this TV. So very impressive performance there from Samsung. In terms of the HDR performance, not quite as impressive. This TV isn't as bright as some of the other Samsung TVs that you can buy. Obviously, it's a mid-range model. We got about 580 nits out of it in terms of its peak brightness. And in terms of the color gamut, it covered about 61% of Rec 2020, which equates to roughly 90% of DCI P3. So not the largest color space, as I said at the beginning, doesn't use quantum dot, and not the brightest either. The tracking was reasonably good, not great against Rec 2020, but pretty good against DCI P3 within the limitations of the native color gamut. Now, of course, graphs are only one thing. When you actually get around to watching the content, what did it look like? Well, actually, a really impressive picture from this TV. Using standard dynamic range content, it actually delivered a great image. Natural colours, great black levels, local dimming was very effective. You can't turn the local dimming off on this TV. You have an option of low or standard or high, but in the low mode, it delivered great blacks, nice shadow detail, and it was very effective local dimming, and we were really impressed by it. Obviously, it uses a VA panel that gives you the good blacks, but of course does mean that the viewing angles aren't as great. So once you go off about 30 degrees of viewing axis, you will find a bit of drop off in contrast and color saturation. But certainly when you're sat center of the TV, it delivers a fantastic looking image in standard dynamic range. When it comes to HDR content, also very impressive. Despite the limited brightness and also despite the limited color gamut, we actually found it to deliver a very enjoyable HDR experience with nice natural colors and some nice peak highlights in there as well. So overall, this is a really solid performer. When you consider the price and the feature set and the build quality, and particularly the performance in terms of picture and especially that low input lag, it's definitely a TV that's worth considering. And we're very happy to award the Samsung UE55MU7000 an AV Forum's recommended badge. If you've enjoyed this video, then please like and subscribe. And don't forget, you can find more news, reviews, articles and videos like this at avforums.com, Europe's largest home entertainment community. Thanks for watching.